Welcome back to another episode of Stacy versus New York Sports Show. I am your main battler, Stacy Carter II, and returning for another fight, Teddy Caputo. Teddy, what's up with you?
Nothing much, man. Hopefully I don't get beaten up too much like I did last time.
Oh, no. You are New York bred. You are made for this show.
Yes, sir.
You are made for this show.
Yeah.
So we have a fantastic episode for you. We're going to get into some MLB news regarding both teams in New York. And also we have to give an update on the NBA concerning the Knicks and Nets. But first, let's start with your team, the Yankees.
Oh, yeah.
The Yankees coming off their World Series loss. They got to make big moves in the offseason, in the winter. They are bringing back Garrett Cole, 4 years, $144 million.
Yep.
They just exercised the 2025 option for manager Aaron Boone.
Yeah.
And they're going to be focused on bringing back Juan Soto. But let's talk about the first two moves. Bringing back Boone, bringing back Garrett Cole. What does that tell you about the Yankees going into 2025?
I mean, I think they're really trying to stay committed to getting right back to the World Series where they were before. You know, their starting pitching rotation, they pretty much have retained everybody, and losing Garrett Cole from that mix would be tough. I know Garrett Cole had a shorter stint this past year because of injury, and he did fairly well coming off of that injury. Of course, it would have been awesome to see the full season, how he would have performed. But, you know, he showed up in the playoffs with the exception of that last game where, you know, there were some errors in the field by his teammates, but then also that huge error at first base with Rizzo, which kind of really catapulted the run. So I think it's a big move for the Yankees to commit to him, to just say, hey, like, no matter what, we trust you. You're going to be the leader of our core. But again, like I said, they're bringing back guys like Nestor Cortez, Luis Gil, who had a really nice season, even though he's fairly new to the team.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos Rodon and Marcus Stroman, those guys are coming back. So they really rounded out that pitching rotation, and Garrett Cole was the icing on the cake. So that's really good. But now, like you said, like they got to figure out what's going on with the batting lineup. So, I mean, they have those pieces, but Soto is that piece they would definitely like to bring back. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I agree with the move bringing back Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole been a fantastic pitcher throughout his whole career, especially when he got to the Astros. Really became a dominant ace in Major League Baseball. But real quick, let's touch on Aaron Boone now. He did face some criticism about, you know, his rotations and his managing style in the World Series. Like I said, he's coming back 2025. I think that he's on a hot seat. I think that if they don't make the World Series next season, I think he's out there. And it's not because of merit or his win percentage or anything. It's the Yankees.
Yeah.
It's the pressure, that New York media pressure, that NYC pressure, and to fall shorter than where you were at the previous season, it's not going to be a good look for him. So as a Yankees fan, how do you feel about Aaron Boone coming back 2025? Do you think he's on a hot seat or?
That's a good question. Now, I will say, I must confess, I was not following baseball as much this year as I would have liked. But in the last few years with Aaron Boone there, again, the expectations are so high. The Yankees have the most World Series championships out of any club. I think it's like 27.
27.
Yeah, 27 World Series. That's like 15 higher than the next club. So they always have high expectations every year, and they have the most money out of any organization to spend on getting the best players. We saw it in the 2000s with the lineups they had: Derek Jeter, A-Rod, Posada, Cano. I can keep going on and on. And all those pitchers too, and Mariano Rivera. Don't want to leave him off the list. And now they have a lineup, both pitching and batting, that measures up to that, where they have the chance to go to the World Series year after year after year. These lineups are so good and so powerful that you kind of have to scratch your head and wonder, like, why they haven't been to the World Series until now. Like, I was expecting them, as soon as they got Giancarlo Stanton right alongside Judge, that they'd be pressing for the World Series every year. But, you know, last year, not this year, but last year, they missed the playoffs. So, I mean, it was kind of like a head scratcher. Like, what is going on with the management there? Because when you have that much talent, it always comes back to the management of the talent. And that's the coach. So I do agree. I think there's so much talent there. Juan Soto, I think, was the big catalyst to like help get them to the World Series. And so if the Yankees don't get Soto back, I think there's a little bit less pressure on Boone because that's a big blow. I mean, teams are trying to get that guy,
Right.
and he would be a huge loss to the Yankees. They're not. I don't know if they're going to sign back Rizzo either, Anthony Rizzo, because he's now a free agent. So if we lose both of those guys, I don't want to call it a rebuilding year, but there's definitely less. It's less likely that they get back, but they're still a really good roster. So they should be getting back. They should have that potential to get back. And I definitely think he's on the hot seat if he doesn't really get close or even get back.
I mean, they lose both those players. I think the fact that you got more than likely the AL MVP Aaron Judge on the team, got Carlos Stanton, who up to the World Series had a fantastic run in the postseason.
Yeah.
You still got, I think they're going to have Jazz Chisholm back.
I believe so.
Back.
Yeah.
Sorry if I mispronounced the name, but you still got a dangerous lineup, like you said.
And you have DJ LeMahieu.
Yeah. You still gonna have that pressure to get to the World Series, no matter what. Because you still gonna have an all-star lineup, but it does help to have Juan Soto back and to a certain extent Anthony Rizzo. So I mean they'll help. But let's go ahead and talk about Juan Soto real quick. That's their main priority now in the winter time. I said this on my SOS network that what money do you give him?
Yeah.
The people that did the episode with me, Bases Loaded, said that they would not pay him $600, $700 million.
Wow.
Which is, you saying you on Shohei Ohtani's level because that's his contract with the Dodgers.
Yep.
They said they would pay him $400 million. And my thinking is, I could kind of see that because you don't want to give me Shohei Ohtani money necessarily, but you got to overpay nowadays to get who you want or to keep who you want.
Yeah.
And he does have age on his side. He's only 26.
Yeah.
So you can sign him to a 10-year contract and you have him for the prime. He just came off hitting 288 in the regular season, 41 home runs, hit over 300 in the postseason.
Yeah.
Probably was their best batter during the postseason run. Let me ask you, how much are you willing to give Juan Soto to bring him back to the Yankees? Like, if this was you signing him, how much would you give him or offer him?
That's a great question. I think you hit the nail on the head with the whole Shohei Ohtani thing. There's these contracts in Major League Sports nowadays that are just landmark contracts, and they change the landscape of the sport completely. In the NFL, Deshaun Watson's contract, now all these quarterbacks are getting paid, and we can argue a lot of them are getting overpaid, right? And so now that you see such a big contract in Ohtani's, of course, year one, he went on and proved that money, winning a World Series, and we'll see if he continues to prove it. But that is such a big contract for such a formidable talent. Now you have Soto, who's also a very formidable talent. He also has a World Series under his belt. So he's got that chip on his shoulder, too, to want that kind of money, especially, like you said, he's 3 years younger. So I've heard people offer, like, they've been saying, like, 13 years, $610 million, 14 years, $640, $660 million. So, like, it's very likely that he'll get that. If anybody can give him the money, it's the Yankees. I wouldn't be surprised if they do a deal like that where it's 14 years, over $600 million. I don't think the deal's going to be as lucrative as Shohei's. I wouldn't be surprised if they go that route, though. And the reason being is that there's going to be a war for Juan Soto. And he's taking his time, he's being patient, he's negotiating with these teams, and he's meeting with the owners. So if the Yankees turn around and say, like, oh, we're only willing to give him like $400. I mean, Aaron Judge, they're paying $40 million a year. So, and they're committed to Aaron Judge. So I wouldn't be also surprised if they don't try to go over that. So maybe 14 years, like $560 million or something like that.
Yeah.
Where basically that I think that they could shell out that money. It's going to be a bidding war, though. There's other teams that are involved that want him. The Mets, Toronto Blue Jays, I've even heard. San Francisco.
Wow, Toronto.
Yeah, they've shown some interest. I don't think they have the money to shell it out, but they've definitely shown some interest. That's where the reports are. The Giants even, and Not that it's likely to happen, but the Washington Nationals have been in the conversation about getting Soto back because they have the cap space and they added players around the team that they actually ironically got in the Soto trade. So we'll see. I think that he's going to probably get that money just because of how hot he is on the market. But, to your point, somebody said they would shell out $400 million. I think because of the Shohei contract, he's going to be like a little bit more demanding than 400 million. I could see that.
Yeah. I can see 500 million.
Yeah.
Cause, you got Shohei, and then you got to put him in between what Shohei got, and then, people like Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, and even Aaron Judge, which is like that $400 million area, $400 million area. So you got to go somewhere in the middle of that. Yeah, I would give him like $500 million. I think that's reasonable if you can call it that. That's still a lot of money. But
500 million, that's $500 million.
Right,
that's a lot of money.
Right. Oh my goodness. Like 500 million, like a 10-year contract, 10, 12-year contract, depending on if they front load the money or give him to the back end. But on Bases Loaded, which is under the Stacey on Sports Network, my teammates, they was talking about how Shohei Ohtani, he's a batter. He can pitch. He steals bases. He does everything.
That's true.
And the reason why they wouldn't pay him that type of money, or even to the $600 million range, because Juan Soto is more so just a bat.
Yeah.
And he's not the greatest fielder. I think he plays right field.
Yeah. He's
not the greatest fielder, in baseball, so they wouldn't give him that. But I was like, that's kind of not fair to compare him to Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani is a once in a lifetime type of player.
He's this generation's Babe Ruth.
Yes, and that's a wall that Juan Soto will never climb. No disrespect whatsoever, but I don't think he'll ever climb that wall. So, you are paying him for the hitting. You are paying him for the home runs. Like I said, he just hit 41. So, yes, he commands at least 500 million in my opinion, but I would not give him 600, 700 million.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, if they're going to pay him less, it's going to be over a less amount of time. They won't commit to as long of a deal, which is most likely going to happen because 14 years, that is a commitment. Like you're really betting on that person and that person's betting on you as an organization. So if he's going to get that money, it's only going to be at a place where he's most comfortable, which is why I truly believe he's going to take his time in free agency.
Oh yeah, definitely got to take his time. Well, we just made it out the Bronx. Now we about to go to Queens and we about to talk about the New York Mets. The New York Mets coming off a fantastic season, Teddy, which they went to the NLCS. They lost to the eventual champions. No shame in that whatsoever.
Exactly.
But just like the Yankees, they are facing big decisions going into 2025. And those decisions are centered around Pete Alonso, who is very, very talented. Very, very talented first baseman. However, he can be wildly inconsistent, at times. And that's the big knock on him. But he's a home run hitter. At his best, he can get to the 280s, 300s, batting average. He can hit about 40 home runs. So just like Juan Soto, what we was talking about, how much money does Pete Alonso command? Because it's like the talent versus production. Do you pay him for his potential, the talent, or do you pay him based on what he's done, especially last season? But like I said, he went to the NLCS. So what do you think?
That's a good question. The Mets definitely have less money to spend than the Yankees. I think it's at least $50 million less. I don't really know any of the details around Alonso's contract, but I do know they're not paying him as much as Aaron Judge.
Right.
And so Aaron Judge, I mean, he's had 2 of the last 3 seasons. He's hit almost like close to 60. Well, one season he hit over 60 home runs. This year he was just too shy of 60 home runs. And they're paying him $40 million a year. So Pete Alonso, he's great, but like I'd be really surprised if they were to pay him more than the Yankees are paying Aaron Judge. So he probably falls somewhere between 25 and 30 million a year in that respect. Plus, if you're also trying to go get someone like Juan Soto, because they have been talking about trying to get Juan Soto because he's on the market, he's hot, And why not pair up Pete Alonso with a bat like Juan Soto? The Yankees were trying to do that with Judge and Stanton, pairing them up, making that three-headed dragon. Well, maybe the Mets would do that as well, because the Mets do have a lot of other young bats around Pete Alonso. You know, they have Francisco Lindor with a great season this past year. Starling Marte, who was a little hurt, but they've committed to him with like $20 million a year in his contract. Jose Iglesias, who came up from the Syracuse Mets, got to shout them out.
Shout out.
And also, I believe Luis Angel Acuna, he was also on the AAA team.
Oh, yeah.
So they're bringing up some young talent around Alonso and Francisco Lindor. So this is a hot time for them to strike, but for Soto. But again, Soto's going to demand a lot of money. So that's also going to impact what you can pay Pete Alonso, especially if you're trying to keep both of those guys on the same team. And that might be the thing. It's like if they commit to Alonso, they might not be able to commit to Soto. If they commit to Soto, they may not be able to commit to Alonso. So there's going to be really some negotiating that they're going to have to do if they want both. Otherwise, Pete Alonso will get his money and he'll stay.
If they have both, that could be between both players $1 billion in contracts. That is insane.
Yeah, that is.
Wow. Like you said, Aaron Judge is only making $40 million a year.
Yeah.
And he has had better seasons so far than Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
But like I was saying about Juan Soto, you have to overpay. And he's going to get at least $40 million a year. He's going to get like a $400 million.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure of the details. I'm pretty sure Alonso's making over 30.
Right.
Already.
Right.
So they're probably going to pay him close to 40.
And he's not going to take the qualifying off because he's one of the players that can get a qualifying offer, you know, that 1 year deal, you know, $20, $30 million for the next season. He's going after that big money.
Yeah.
I would like for the Mets to keep him.
Yeah.
I think, you know, he's what I term him as a symbolic player, like having him on the team gives that trickle down effect to where it boosts the morale. You know, he brings the fanfare, he brings the flair. He puts butts in seats. You want to see Pete Alonso hit home runs. You want to see him go for 30, 40 home runs, maybe even 50.
Yeah.
So I would definitely bring him back if I was the Mets. And then also, I'm not a fan of breaking up teams when you go on a good run. I want teams to max out on their talent, on their potential.
Yeah.
You know, all good things come to an end, but I don't think the end is here for the Mets. I think they going into 2025, that's something they can build on. And actually, I remember a long time ago seeing like that was their plan actually to go for World Series championships in 2025 and 2026 because they're going to have the money to do so. So like they're right there in the middle of their plan.
Yeah.
And bringing back Pete Alonso would do wonders. But them going after Juan Soto, which I did see that too, that they can possibly go after Juan Soto, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
That would be crazy. But hey, if I'm the Mets, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
If I got a chance to knock off the Yankees, go to the Bronx and get one of their best players, I'm doing it. Exactly. I'm going after it. I'm rolling the dice with it.
Exactly. Especially if they've been planning strategically, saving up the money, they may have enough to pay both Alonso and Soto. And you got the Dodgers that are they're stacking up too. I mean, their lineup is solid. They're going to keep getting better, in my opinion. And you got to go up against that. So bringing a bat like Soto would definitely help. I think, though, if I'm being honest, well, let me say this really quick. Aaron Judge to the Yankees, he's like the identity of that team. Like the Yankees kind of built a brand around him. He's a Yankees fan, right? Pete Alonso is the same for the Mets. So I agree. I think they got to really invest in him first. And then if they can, go for Soto. Because if they break that up, then maybe the relationships that players have built around Alonso and built with the organization can get fractured. So I think, focus on Alonso first and then see if you can get Soto. But they also have to really focus on their starting pitching. The last 2 years, it's been kind of all over the place. A few years ago, they had both Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander.
Oh, I remember that.
They were in a good spot.
Right.
And then they let both of those guys go at the trade deadline in 2023. And then they did sign some more guys over the winter last year who were pretty much their three main guys in the rotation. Sean Manaea, Luis Severino, and Jose Quintana. had fairly good seasons, but I guess they weren't putting up Cy Young numbers. But those guys are now in the free agency. So they pretty much have a big hole to fill in their pitching rotation. So as much as they need to focus on Pete Alonso and perhaps getting Soto, there's two sides to the sport. There's the batting, and then there's the fielding, and more importantly, the pitching. So they have to address that this offseason as well.
Oh, yeah, Queens. The Mets got some. Wow, that's a lot. Three of your main pitchers and Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
That's a lot. With Queens, we going to keep an eye on the Mets to see what they're going to do. But let's go to round 3 where we got to take a trip to Madison Square Garden. We got to take a trip to Brooklyn and talk about the Knicks and the Nets. The Knicks, Teddy. I know it's very early.
Yeah.
But let's just give our evaluation of both teams. Let's start with the Knicks.
I think a lot of people are maybe like freaking out a little bit, like, oh no, like, you know, they're not, they don't have it. I feel like they should be not as worried as the 76ers fans. If I'm being honest with you.
Are you okay? No,
I'm holding up.
Want me?
Hey, I do have the team, the Knicks right there. If everything folds with the Sixers.
Oh, you gonna jump ship?
No, I don't want to jump ship, but I mean, if I'm not rooting for the Sixers, I'll be rooting for the Knicks.
Okay.
But the whole point is, I don't think people should be worrying so much right now. They're still trying to gel. They're still trying to figure it out. I believe they've won the last 2 games, so that has been helpful. And so maybe they're starting to figure it out. Jalen Brunson, he's scoring 26 points a game. I guess compared to last year, it's slower, but like 26 points a game is still really good. Mm-hmm. And Karl Anthony Towns, he's averaging 23 and 13. So that's not bad either. I think what the issue more so is the defense. So they have really good perimeter defense to start the year. They're holding teams to like 30% from the 3. But the teams are getting in the paint, and they're really dominating them in the paint. So that's a bigger issue that they need to address. I don't think they have Mitchell Robinson back, who's been really good, reliable defensive guy in the post. We were talking about Precious Achiuwa a few weeks ago being a key role player, and he's great on defense. They're without him now for about a month or something like that. So the defense on the interior is not as great. And Karl Anthony Towns can get the boards. He can rebound. I've never really known him to be like a really strong defensive prowess. And if he has been, he's not really showing it right now. And at least that identity that they want to have a defense, it's not being cultivated in the paint. So I just think that they just need to relax and calm down, figure out the defensive system and stopping teams in the paint. Because again, they're doing well on the perimeter. The teams are moving the ball inside, and their point differential is very minimal. I think it's only like less than 2 points a game that they have. So I think the scoring will pick up, but the defense has to pick up as well on the Knicks side of the ball. Yeah,
I believe as of right now, they're scoring 113 points per game, which is kind of in the middle of the league.
And they're also allowing, from what I saw, 113 points a game. So that point differential may be even. So it's even less than I thought.
Yeah. To your point, the rebounding is an issue.
Yeah.
I think they only get like 9 offensive rebounds a game. Ooh. And then defensive rebounds, they get around 31.
Yeah.
Which puts them in the 40s. And that's towards the bottom of the league.
It is.
But you can also attribute it to, like you were alluding to, they have a lack of depth in the front court. Like Karl Anthony Towns getting 13 rebounds a game, but, you know, they're going to need more than that.
That means like 10 other guys are only getting 27 rebounds. That's not going to come.
Yeah, and they don't have, you know, the size to keep up with bigger teams. So, you know, there's going to be a problem going forward until Mitchell Robinson come back, till Precious Achiuwa come back. Then we can see the Knicks in the full scope of how they put things together. But as we record this right now, they're 3-4. Obviously, they're going to play a few more games. But it's still early in the season. It's only been 7 games.
So
they just trying to figure it out. You got Jalen Brunson was the number 1 option. Karl Anthony Towns is a number 1 option, has been for some years before the rise of Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you before, you have Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby who play the same position or the same size. So you're trying to figure that out. You know, it's a work in progress. It's not, you know, it's not going to be an overnight thing. They're going to have to figure out, you know, what goes down in the fourth quarter. Like, I believe the last game, Karl Anthony Towns didn't really get any touches inside the last 5 minutes, I believe. That's a problem.
Yeah.
He's an offensive force. Like I say, he's averaging 23 points per game. You still want to use him. I know Jalen Brunson is the man, but don't forget you picked up Karl Anthony Towns for a reason.
And he's shooting the ball really well early to start too. Behind the arc especially, shooting 57% from three, which I don't know how many threes he's taking, but that's really impressive. And I saw in the preseason he was flexing from three-point a lot more. So definitely get the ball in his hands.
And then as a team right now, they're shooting around 42, 43%, which is towards the top of the league for three. So like you said, they're playing great on the perimeter, but they just need to fix that inside game and then continue to gel together as a team. And I think they're going to be fine going forward. Now, if we get to February, March, and they're batting around 500, then maybe we could press the panic button. But for right now, they're going to be fine. But let's go ahead and talk about the Nets real quick. The Nets are 4-4. We both said that they're probably going to be towards the bottom of the NBA just because they're in a transitional year. But 4-4 is not bad.
Yeah. I think they're doing really well. Even the games that they've lost have been close games. So they're battling every single game. I think it's really a much better start than we anticipated, especially losing Mikal Bridges and that defensive prowess that he is. It's very clear that Cam Thomas is their go-to option. He's scoring around 25 points a game. He's shooting the ball 20 times a game. His efficiency is a little low, but he's getting a lot of touches. So he's definitely their option. They still have Cam Johnson. They have Dennis Schroeder that are playing well. I'd like to see Ben Simmons more involved. He's slowly getting back.
I got some news for you, Teddy. I think you should temper your expectations.
Temper my expectations? Yeah, I know. I mean, he's played 6 of their 8 games, and he started every single game. He's not filling the stat sheet, but I think if you can get him comfortable back on the court, then maybe, I want to be very clear, maybe we will see an old Ben Simmons return, maybe a star Ben Simmons return. I think this is the kind of team where there aren't a lot of competing stars. Of course, Cam Johnson and Cam Thomas, those guys have that capability. And Cam Thomas is showing that he's a star on this team. But it would be really nice to see Ben Simmons really become that player that we hope he could be, especially because they're going to need him if they want to continue the longevity of this. They've won 3 of the last 4. They have a lot of momentum, but they also have some issues on the defensive side. And so those issues maybe can get cleaned up, but they don't have as many offensive weapons as, say, the Knicks do, where I think with the Knicks, I'm not as concerned because I think they're going to pick up the scoring. The question mark with the Nets is, will they keep up the scoring? Will they be able to rely? I mean, Cam Thomas, that's great. But if they shut him down, who's the next guy up? You got Cam Johnson and Dennis Schroeder. Those are good guys. But, I don't know. I feel like with the Knicks, you have a lot more depth in scoring, whereas the Nets, not so much. So will they keep it up? I like to see that, but I think it's going to be tough. We've seen teams like the Bulls start off really hot and then just completely wither away. So the Nets could be in a similar position. We'll see.
Before I get to the Nets, I just miss the days where the Bulls were good. Sometimes I get nostalgic. Like, I want to see those teams that we saw in the 90s and 2000s, the highlights. I just want to see them good again. Like, I'm glad the Knicks are doing well. That gives me a warm feeling, but come on, Chicago.
They were getting close when they had Derrick Rose and then all the injuries. Then they brought Jimmy Butler in and then all the drama, and he's now gone. So, and they have Zach LaVine now, but I mean, I don't think he's that star yet, but he's playing very well. Like, he very well could be. But if they don't keep it up, he's going to want to go somewhere he can win. So he might be on the trade block before the deadline.
But going to the Nets, they're going to have to be a scrappy team. They're going to have to give teams a fight. You was talking about them offensively, defensively. They just don't have the roster right now to be efficient in those categories. Your best player is Cam Thomas. like you said, he's averaging 25, 26 points per game, but shooting 20 shots a game and only having 40% field goal percentage. The low 40s.
Yeah.
The back end of the 40s. It's not good. Especially with advanced analytics. You want your best scorer to be at least 48, 49%.
Yeah.
I do question, can they build a team around him with him shooting like that?
Yeah.
Even though I respect, him coming up, he's done a fantastic job. He's doing what he has to do in the games, but is he that star that you could build around going forward? I don't know.
Yeah.
The Nets definitely gonna have to build, in the draft. They got a ton of draft capital.
Yes.
That they can use, and I would like for them to go that route they were going before they sold out for Steve Nash and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and James Harden, where they had, D'Angelo Russell and them. I don't know if you remember that, like.
A little bit.
Yeah. I want them to go back to that route.
Yeah.
Just building within, having homegrown stars, and not just throw them away for, star players that gets injured a lot.
Yeah.
I want to see them do that.
Yeah.
I think if they do that, then we could see them down the line in a few years competing in the East.
Yeah.
And especially if Cam Thomas becomes more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that I like what they have so far. Dennis Schroeder's been playing. Dennis Schroeder's always been a solid player in the NBA.
Oh, no. Totally.
So, and then you got Cam Johnson, who's a great complimentary player. Again, going to Ben Simmons. I mean, it kind of breaks my heart a little bit just to look at his stat line and he's only getting like 7 points per game. I'm like, dude, you are a 20-point talent.
Yeah.
But, he is being a point guard on that team, which fits him naturally.
Yeah. So
I do like that on that aspect. He's still a good defender. So, they just need to continue to doing what they're doing now. I would be very impressed if they finish the season hovering around 500, which now we have the play-in could get you a play-in spot, 9 to 10 spot. So, I like what they're doing.
Yeah, I like what they're doing now too. I love the comment you made about scrappiness. I think a team like the Kings in the Western Conference, they have shown that they are a scrappy team, and they have some rising stars in De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. If I'm saying his name right, gosh. And now they got DeMar DeRozan, so they're really building. But like they play scrappy. Like they're a team that nobody thought would be as good as they were, but they were just scrappy. Like they played hard. And so if the Nets adopts that identity as well, then I could see this continuing. But in the long run, Cam Thomas can be more efficient and really be like, oh, this is a guy we want to build around. A lot of these teams are getting another star to put right next to their current star. Mm-hmm. We saw the Knicks do that with Jalen Brunson, now bringing in Karl-Anthony Towns. Mm-hmm. So I think the Nets, depending on how they do this year, and they're like, oh, like, we're in that bubble spot. We got some potential here. We can see ourselves going somewhere. They got that draft capital. Definitely get someone young in the draft who's a formidable future player, but also maybe go target someone who's looking to get out of their current situation and build around them. I think that's the move that they're going to make. If not this year, before the trade deadline, definitely next year.
That was it as far as the NBA world in New York.
Yes, sir.
Another fight, another victory for Stacey versus New York Sports Show. Once again, I am Stacey Carter II, joined by the Teddy Caputo. Teddy, once again, plug your socials.
Yes, Teddy_Caputs on everything, Instagram and Twitter. I also Facebook, but I'm getting that TikTok too. It's coming.
Oh, Teddy on TikTok.
Not yet. It's coming though.
Oh, so that should be your name, by the way, Teddy on TikTok.
Teddy on TikTok?
Yeah.
I like Teddy_Caputs. Oh. That's just who I am, man.
Or Clark Kent.
Or Clark Kent. Well, if Teddy_Caputs is taken, I'll take Teddy on TikTok.
Yeah, there you go. Teddy on TikTok. Follow me everywhere on social media at SC2nd. We'll see y'all next time.